Do you want to become a millionaire over 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 1 year? Well, here's what we say. The longer it takes, the safer it must be. It's actually the opposite. The longer it takes, the higher likelihood of you have of not getting there. So the first standard that I have that we have to debunk is that you should run for the hills from single-digit ROI.
Kris, some might say what you did during college was getting rich quick.
Man, if you think that was get rich quick, you should have seen what I've done since college.
Oh, yeah?
I love getting rich quick.
But isn't it a myth?
No, dude, it's the problems with that phrase. Everyone thinks that get rich quick, like that's what we say to warn people and say, uh-oh, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And you know what? That is probably one of the dumbest sayings I've ever heard in my entire life. That's what poor people tell poor people so that they can all stay poor. And that's because poor people, they don't have the rules of the game. They don't know how to make money. And so because they don't have those rules, there's a default. And the default is, oh, you can't do it. It's not possible. If you do it too fast, it's going to be a ripoff. And you know what? Unfortunately, that is the rhetoric that keeps the poor poor and the rich richer. And that contributes to the widening of the gap.
But aren't there offers out there? I mean, timeshares. I mean, things that people are pitching all the time.
Oh, dude, there's
MLMs that are like.
Are you kidding? Most investments are
stupid.
stupid.
If you enroll your 75 cousins and they're all in your downline, you'll be getting paid $10,000 a month.
Don't mistake what I'm saying here. When I say get rich quick is a phrase that I love, it's because if it can't get me rich quick, I'm not interested. However, you have to develop such a fine-tuned BS meter because the majority of the stuff out there is bad. And we can't tell the difference between the good opportunities from the bad ones because we don't have standards. We think that making a lot of money should be the standard. And I'm just telling you right now, making a lot of money without standards is actually how you fail at the game. You actually have to have the rules and you have to have knowledge. And because most people don't have that, there's a lot of things that look good, smell good, but you know what? It's not.
So how do you tell the difference?
Oh, well, I think that most successful business owners that I've ever met, you look at the first decade of business and that is when they suck the most. I look at my first decade and it's like, oh yeah, that's the decade of failure. That's where you're going to stay in the game too long. You're not going to know when to quit. You're going to try doing the same thing over and over again, assuming it's going to be a win for you when it's never going to be one because you just don't have experience. You're going to be betrayed. You're going to be screwed over. You're going to have learning experiences. And unfortunately, some people, Carson, will be soiled. Those experiences will put a bad taste in their mouth and they'll never graduate to the good stuff. One of the things that I love to do and what I want to do on today's show is I just want to help you skip the years of screwing it up by just getting to the good stuff. And here's the secret. Tony Robbins taught me this. You have to have standards. And in every part of your life, not just in your relationships, not just in your spirituality, you have to have standards when it comes to business. And if you don't have standards, you are going to make really bad decisions.
So what are some of these standards, Kris?
Well, first of all, let's actually just get to the heart and the soul of what it means to become a self-made millionaire. Do you want to become a millionaire over 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 1 year? Well, here's what we say. The longer it takes, the safer it must be. It's actually the opposite. The longer it takes, the higher likelihood of you have of not getting there. So the first standard that I have that we have to debunk is that you should run for the hills from single-digit ROI. Because society says, you're too dumb to manage your money, give it to me. Let's sock it away in a 401k. Oh, did you know that you can save $34 if you put most of your savings in an IRA this year? Hey, did you know that you should take your money and annuitize it? No. Put your money in a CD, a security deposit, put it in the bank. We have all of this advice. No. The S&P 500, the S&P 500, that's different than an indexed fund, a mutual fund, a 401k, an IRA. It's different because it's based on you investing in the growth of the top 500 companies. You know what all of those notions there share what they share in common? They're all single-digit ROI. And yes, they're safe. They're so safe that they'll never compound to a meaningful amount of money. They're so safe that when you actually ask yourself, there's a reason why we have the rule of 72. It is a cheat to tell you how long it takes to double your money. You essentially take the ROI, the interest that you're supposed to earn, you take the number 72, you divide it by that figure, and it says, according to the rules of compound interest, your money approximately is going to double in this period of time. So for example, if you take the 30-year average on 401ks and IRAs, 6%, and you say 72 divided by 6, what is that? You're going to roughly double your money. I'm just going to pull out my calculator. Let's just do it right now. I'm going to pull out my calculator. I'm going to say 72 divided by 6% 30-year average. It's going to take 12 years to double my money. Well, how many years are you planning on working? 40 years? 30 years? By the time you have a decade to try to accumulate a little bit of money, then you have what, 30 more years to try to double it? You're going to double your money 2 or 3 times. Hello. I started with 20 grand. I doubled it. Ooh, now you have 40. Doubled it again. Now you have 80. Oh, you doubled it again? No, you didn't. You retired. So guess what? If something takes 12 years to double, it's not fast enough, which means that instead of it being the safest, ironically, it is now the riskiest. It's really strange. We really screw up the notion of what risk really means. If your option's too safe, financially, you're never going to make it to the goal. Likewise, if you make uncalculated, unintelligent, risky choices, then you're just going to lose your money real fast. I'll show you some standards so that you can avoid that from happening. There's a happy medium. I believe that a person to become financially free needs to invest in the right single ROI, single-digit ROIs. They need to invest in double-digit ROIs. They have to access triple-digit ROIs. They have to tap into quadruple-digit ROIs. And then I even show people how to earn infinite ROIs. And these are the rules of the rich. These are things that rich people do to make a lot of money, not in over decades. Yes, that's true, but they're also making a lot of money in a very short period of time. You take a look at the world's most successful, wealthiest people, and they're all getting rich quick. And that's because they have rules and standards that allow it to be so.
So I think of these other investments, Kris, like 401ks, IRAs, and they're really built for the least common denominator, which means they're built for, they're assuming that it's a dumb person that doesn't know what to do with their money.
Well,
most of us put it here, park it here.
Listen to your CPA, listen to your financial planner. These people have all sorts of single-digit notions to keep you safe. And they have this game, they're like, well, I need to understand your risk tolerance. You see, if you're really conservative, we're going for 3%. If you're risky, we're going to look at 7%. Maybe 9%. I'm like, you're screwed either way. You're screwed at the 3, the 5, and the 7%. Like, you have to learn to master the game of money. And wealthy people, they learn the rules and they develop the standards. And guess what? They have the ability to achieve financial freedom. I became financially free at the age of 26, just 4.5 years after I set out on my journey, starting in college and deeply in debt. And I did it in a very short period of time, only leveraging double-digit ROIs. Guess what happens when I discover triple-digit, quadruple digit? Think about it this way. Like, I'm just going to use my calculator here for a second. I gave you an example of single digit ROI. If I'm earning 6% of my money through something stock market related, it'll take me, according to the rule of 72 divided by 6, it'll take me 12 years to double my money. Not nearly fast enough if that's where I put the majority of my money. But let's say that I could put my money in investment like I do in real estate, earning a 25% ROI. Well, all of a sudden, the rule of 72 divided by 25 is, oh, I've learned how to double my money in 2.8 years. That's less than 3 years to double my money. I have some real estate where I'm actually growing my money right now at 70%. So 72 divided by 70, guess what? Every year I'm doubling my money. Just double digit alone. If Americans, people around the world would just learn how to go from single digit to double digit, they could literally, in real estate, I make money 27 times faster than the average stock market payout. So just double digit will mean that you can become financially free during your lifetime. But take it to triple digit for just a moment. Like, I know how to earn 500% of my money. So 72 divided by a 500% ROI is 0.14. Well, what the crap is 0.14 years? I have to go 365 and multiply it by 0.14. And it tells me that every 51 days, I double my money. And by the way, I'm doing that right now with a number of my investments. But then it gets better. What about quadruple digit ROI? What happens if you know how, like we're going to talk about today, how do you tap into 1,000% yield? Okay, well, 72 divided by 1,000 gives me this number 0.072. That times 365 means that I'm doubling my money every 26 days. So every month I double my money. What about infinite ROI? And at the end of this episode, let's actually talk about that. Like, let's talk about literally what it feels like to nearly manifest money out of thin air, because frankly, that's what helped me become financially free at such a young age.
So Kris, it sounds to me like this phrase, get rich quick, what you're honing in on is this idea that time is incredibly valuable. And the longer something takes, I mean, we only have so much life in us.
Dude, think about it for a moment. You think you have an amazing business idea. And so you take it to your business mentor and you're like, wow, I think you're really onto something. I think if we work hard at this for the next 30 years, you could probably make a couple $1 million. Are you kidding me? I have this many lives to live. I've got 30 lives to live, and you want me to dedicate the whole thing to an idea? Oh, someone saved me from my good ideas. Right now, I got a slew of people that saved me from those. Keith Cunningham taught me that, because guess what? I wasted a decade of my life pursuing something I thought that would get me rich. And when it didn't, I kept trying. After a decade, I gave up. And 2 years later, I made like 5 times more money than I had been trying to make during the whole decade. So yeah, some of us need to be saved from our good ideas. The benefit of instead saying, I think I have a good business idea, show me an exitable path within 3 to 5 years. Let's spend 6 months doing a prototype. Let's bring it to market next year. Then let's grow it for 2 or 3 years. Let's build up its value. Let's sell it for $20 million. Hey, I got rich relatively quick. And you know what? It was legit. It is for the most legitimate, successful business owners on the planet. You look at the uber rich, and what they're doing is they make a lot of money in a very short period of time. It's really just what the poor people just talk about. It's a jealousy thing. It's just so that they I get it. I got these family members that love to talk about the rich, the filthy, the dirty, the rotten, the stinking. They can't afford a shower, it smells like. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why are we so anti-rich people? Jealousy. We want what they want. We want what they have, but we don't know how to get it. So if we can't have it, then how do we win? We point fingers at them. It's like, there's a reason why most rich people don't want to share their secrets of wealth with other people. And that's because the poor have ridiculed them to pieces.
So this idea of get rich quick, I think this has a negative stigma to it, because it's not necessarily the time though. I think a lot of times people are sold things that should be easy. So I want to pose a different way to you, Kris. Is there a way to get rich without effort?
Okay, let's talk about those standards. It comes back to time. And every opportunity either will take time or it won't take time. So my single digit, my double digit, and my triple digit investments, they're all passive. And I do that intentionally because I have to protect my time. I'm going to give you 3 examples with those 3 ROIs of how I do that. In fact, let me break it all down for you. I believe the most intelligent single digit ROI to invest in is a life insurance policy. Not the kind that produces a mere death benefit for when you die. I'm talking about a whole life policy that you can put money in and take it right back out because it gives you benefits. This high early cash out type of policy allows me to put my money in. I get 4% on it a year. I treat it basically like a bank account. I'm getting 4% on my money guaranteed, plus I'm getting another 1, 2, or 3% annual dividend. So I'm basically making on average 6% a year on my money instead of my bank account giving me nothing. That money also grows tax-free. Then I can borrow that money out at 3%, even though I'm still earning 6 on it. So what does that mean? That means that even if my money is sitting in another investment, I'm still earning 3% potentially, illustratively here in my life insurance. So that's my single digit place. It's where I stash cash. Then I have my double digit ROI.
Hold on, Kris, on that. So are you saying it's continuing to earn 3% while you've also got it in real estate?
Yes, I'm earning money in multiple places at once.
So you're making $1 earn multiple ROIs stacking.
I'm stacking my ROIs in multiple investments at once.
Okay, I'm fascinated. Honestly, I've heard you talk about life insurance so many times.
But you never heard that?
No, I'm sure I've heard it, Kris. Okay. It just didn't click that way. I was like, when you pull it out, it stops earning on the life insurance and it starts earning in the real estate. You're saying it's doing both.
Yes, and there's only one team in the country that I trust to put these policies together. You can go to kriskrohn.com and just hit a support@kriskrohn.com email or something. But that team, the reason why that's a passive investment is just like a bank account. I pop my money in. By the way, that money is unlitigatable. It's untouchable. So that's my single digit go-to. I'm like, all right.
It's unlitigatable even once you've rolled it into real estate.
The money I roll into real estate is litigatable. Okay, the money that I leave in it, the money that I grow in it,
gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about it this way. It's passive. It's just a place to stash cash, but I want to stash cash intelligently. Then you move on to double digit ROI. I go to real estate because it needs to be passive again. So I buy single family homes. I outsource all of the work. I've got a whole elaborate system on this. I'm earning 25% a year on my money. Now, just going from 6% to 25%, there's a 4x difference. 25 is 4 times bigger than 6, but it's 27 times more money with compound interest because double digits compound meaningfully, single digits do not. right? Now, people are like, oh, Kris, you're the real estate guy. Like, you listen up right now. I'm not talking about real estate.
Not about the vehicle.
It's not about the vehicle. I'm talking about 25% of your money. Listen, people that are getting rich, if they're ever telling you how they're doing it with the vehicle and that's what you should focus on, they're confused. You're focusing on the one thing that allows you to compare any of them across the board. It's ROI. So why do I buy a lot of real estate? Is it because I love real estate? Well, I do happen to love real estate, but real estate in and of itself is not why I'm doing it. It's because I passively need my money earning 4 times more than the stock market average because it makes me 27 times more money over a 20-year period of time because it compounds meaningfully.
Kris, this has been our mantra for the past, 4 years? Everything we've done here on your team is about ROI.
Everything.
6 months ago, we were talking about naming your new book.
Yes.
And we were like, we should just call it ROI. That's like an
ROI.
impactful. And we did a test, and that name, it did very poorly.
People don't understand.
They don't get
not
it.
Educated. If they were, they would say that's a dope title. Instead,
Yes.
I've got to call the book. I think we're calling it actually the name of Have It All. It's 5 investments to become a self-made millionaire. I'm like, the book is about ROI. I want to call it ROI.
And it dawned on me, Kris, that most people don't think that way. They're not thinking about ROI, and they don't see that as being the critical component.
And take a look at the 25% I'm earning in real estate. It is now providing me such a powerful cash flow. If 6 or 7% of that 25% is paid out annually in the form of a positive cash flow, it's also tax-free. Because when you buy single family homes below the median, guess what? The depreciation that the government allows us to do is enough to write off the taxable income of all of the gains from positive cash flow, and usually twice as much more, meaning there's leftovers to apply to your normal income. That's why the first 7 years I didn't pay any taxes. I wasn't being tax evasive, I was being tax intelligent. And real estate is a business, and so it affords you all the business write-offs and all the real estate write-offs. And you put the two together, currently there's nothing more powerful today for producing tax write-offs than a real estate business. So that's number 2 for double digits. So you go from single digit life insurance bank accounts, all those 7 benefits. Then I go into real estate because now I have a real asset. It's tangible. It appreciates. It grows. Tax benefits that appreciate. It gives me cash flow. And I have tenants living in it for 5 years that are going to pay down my mortgage. I make 5% of my money just by having tenants that pay it down for me, right? Yeah. All right, so now I'm doing my 25% there. So where do you go from there? Then I graduate to triple digit ROI. It also has to be passive because we all have 24 hours in a time, but there's a reason why I can leverage mine and make way more money. And there's a reason why you're listening to this episode right now. You, not Carson, but like everybody. You're listening to this right now because I'm teaching how to become a financial genius. I get my triple digits out of the stock market. I mean,
what? Did everybody who follows our YouTube channel just like die and roll over?
No.
What did
I want to be clear.
Say?
I'm not talking about 401ks, IRAs, S&Ps, indexes, mutual funds. I'm not talking about that garbage.
You're talking about specific businesses.
I'm not even talking about the stock market. I'm talking about owning businesses. I love owning successful businesses. And guess what? On the public exchange system, I can find the most successful companies, research their CEOs, research their products, research their market timing, research their innovation. And when I find a company that is just sick, hot, poised for growth, I'm going to invest in that company for a minimum of 5 to 10 years. So a part of my money sits in 15 different companies in 15 different industries so that I get the diversification of investing in the tech industry or EV electrical vehicles. I'm investing, like for example, did you guys know there's a company out there called Workhorse? And they've already invented the optimized EV of cargo vans. And did you know that President Biden said that by the end of his term, he's committed for every government-owned electric vehicle, like its postal services, to be electric. They're likely going to invest in Workhorse. They're going to buy from Workhorse. Guess what do you think is going to happen to the value of their company?
It's going to shoot.
It's going to be massive. They're going to be the Tesla of the commercial EV industry.
But you're not talking about day trading. You said this
no.
is still a 4 to 5 year play.
The reason why it's passive is because I will buy research firms. I'll collect their research on bio and health. I'll collect research on tech, like 5G. I know the top 5 companies that are likely going to dominate 5G and already the number 1 company in position for 6G. It's going to revolutionize the technological speed of the entire planet. You've got the cell towers that are going to do the transmitting. There's a little box that actually, there's only one company that makes those that allows this thing to be possible. You've got to find the network that will likely represent it, the largest, the biggest, the fastest. I know those 5 companies. Guess what I've done?
You invested in all
I
of
own
them.
a piece of them. So when I say stock market, I want to be really clear. I am buying the companies that are likely to lead us into the future that will be manifested.
So with these 5 companies, Kris, did you just pick one that you thought would do the best?
No. My strategy is to win by losing.
You're going to have to illuminate us on that one.
Okay. So asymmetric risk. Symmetry in investments means there's equal up and downside. This is the stupid garbage that we are pitched all day long. Well, you're going to make 6% on average, but sometimes it'll do 9 and sometimes it'll do 1. Yeah, and you're going to average 6. That's symmetrical risk. As boring as I'm not there.
By the way, I love your voice for a financial planner. Can we just like give that guy a name and
hey guys,
we'll call him Todd and be like, shut up, Todd.
Okay. Then let's talk about asymmetry. Asymmetry means here financially really high upside, very low downside. Okay, so I learned this from Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio, I think, managed $150 billion and over a period of time, dozens of billions returned to his investors. One of the most successful hedge fund managers of all time. He says, Kris, let me teach you asymmetric risk. He said, let's just assume for a moment that this listener, you, has $500. And let's say that you wanted to invest the $500 equally into 5 companies. So you're going to have $100 go to one company, 100, but there's got to be a criteria, a standard. There's that word again. Here's the standard for your investment. You must pick a company that has a minimum of 500% ROI. It means that if you put $1 in, you have to get $5 back. Okay, so I take my $500, I do my research, I find 5 companies, and I can only select a company as long as I have reason to believe that they can at least 5x my money. Well, here's 100 that goes here. I've spent all $500 on 5 companies. And guess what? The first one completely fails. Now, when a company fails, they lose value. They don't go to 0, but let's just say it went to 0. $100, poof, it's gone. The second company, same thing, poof, it's gone. Third company, poof, it's gone. Fourth company, poof, it's gone. But the 5th company actually produces a 500% ROI. I only won 1 out of 5 times. That's a 20% win rate. But the 500% made enough money to break even on my other losses. So winning 20% of the time breaks even. What if I had won 2 out of 5 times? Then I would have doubled my money. What if I win 3 out of 5 times, right? So now let's take it to the real world, because in the real world, it's different. I'm selecting whatever money you're going to put into investing in the future for this, not for real estate, not for whatever else. Some of that money I'm putting in my life insurance bank account is going to come over here. Let's say that it's $15,000. So let's say that I now have $1,000 I'm going to invest in 15 different companies. And by the way, I'm looking for different businesses. I don't want them all to be in tech. Mm-hmm. Why? Because when the tech industry takes a hit, all of my investments take a hit. No, that's what diversification means. I could literally put some in a cash paying REIT. I could put some of that money into biotech. I could put some of that into AI. I can put some of that into 5G. I can put some of that into this, that, or whatever. So now I have 15 grand. And I'm only allowed to put 1,000 into each opportunity. So by the way, if I find an opportunity I get really jazzed about, I'm not going to put 15 grand into it. I'm not going to put 10 grand in it. I'm not going to put 5 grand. I'm going to put 1 grand. I got to find 15 equally amazing opportunities. Number 2, I'm looking for companies over 10 years that have a 10,000% ROI. So in other words, these are moonshots. For a moment, think about Amazon, or think about Google,
Netflix.
Think about Netflix. Netflix from 7 years, from 2014 to now, if you had invested $1,000 then, it has gone up 23,000%. 1 grand would have been $230,000. So if I do 15 different industries, and that's because Ray Dalio says you need to be diversified in 15 different asset classes for you to mitigate 85% of risk from market exposure, different industries going down. So I've got my 15 investments out there, and you know what, Carson? I'm going to lose 2/3 of the time. Mm-hmm. I only need 5 of those companies to go to 10,000% ROI. Maybe some will only hit 5,000. Maybe one will hit 20,000. But on this strategy, I'm going to lose more often than I win. But when I win,
it makes up for it.
It more than makes up for it. Now, what does that need to average over time coming back to me? 500% ROI. My real estate, you do 25%. This strategy, 500%. Now, by the way, is it important to do real estate and the strategy? Yeah. Yes, it's very, very important, because these 5 investments are ultimately going to diversify into 4 different major industries, so that when one industry takes a hit, you don't take a bath on everything else. So there's right there, what I've shared alone, the most intelligent single digit ROI. And again, you can go to support@kriskrohn.com, just spell my name correctly, and say, who's Kris's life insurance team? I'll get you in touch with them. They're amazing. I dump money. Every year I create new bank accounts. I dump more money in there, and it's sitting there. Some of it's for reserve. Some of it is sleep well at night account for peace of mind. But that money is really mostly just sitting there so I can take it out and dump it into real estate, take it out and buy companies. That's what I mean when I say stock market.
This is really interesting. I don't think these are the types of ideas that that leap into your mind when you say get rich quick.
This should be ninth grade education.
It should be.
This is what you introduce when you enter high school. That says, hi, we think we're trying to encourage you to get good grades so you can get into a good college, but reminder, that is to work for somebody else and build their dream. Reminder, that is career training. Reminder, that is so you can pay bills. Not get rich, not get ahead. In ninth grade, we're going to teach a financial class that is now going to show you how to intelligently manage money the way that the wealthy do. So there's 3 of my 5 investment vehicles.
What do you think the ROI is on, and I know I'm just calling this out of the dark, so just want your gut. What do you think the ROI is on an average degree from a university?
I can tell you exactly what it is. The average person graduating with the degree is going to make right around $54,000 a year. And currently the numbers are astounding. The average debt load of a student is approximately $50,000 per year for college tuition, housing, et cetera, what they go into debt for. It takes an average of 5 years for them to get through school. So that means that you have people out there spending $250,000 to get a $50,000 a year job. Here's what they're not told. Did you know that there are jobs out there that pay $80,000 a year that don't require college? Did you know there's jobs out there paying $150,000 a year that don't require college? So when you say, what's the ROI? There's a reason why 20 years later, student loan debt has only been serviced. The interest been paid, it's not been paid off. So it's bad. It's real bad. It's a really messed up system.
I mean, I figured that's where you'd go with that, but I think that's the type of thing that people should be doing when they're evaluating these decisions. It seems so safe.
Dude, it's not just a career, how I want to spend my time. It's a money thing too.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I'm not opposed to college, but I do think that 75% of the degrees kids are going for college for are garbage. How do I know? Because the job you're getting does not either use that degree or doesn't need that degree. So guess what it means? It doesn't mean that it was a total waste. Listen, you had fun, maybe you had a social experience, and maybe you got to learn how to learn. Maybe you learned how to research. Maybe you learned about discipline or getting things turned in on time. Like there's valuable skills that are reinforced from living on your own and doing this thing called college. But is it strictly just about like degree and job? No, we would make our decisions entirely different if we actually got real. How many college kids understand what $50,000 a year is versus $100,000? Dude, they don't know until they enter the job market. They get their first grown-up job and they look at how much money's in the bank account. And then here's what happens. Holy beep. What did I just, how come I wasn't warned? Who should have told me? Where was my guidance counselor? Where were my parents? Where was my 3rd grade teacher?
Well, and then they get on social media and complain about not being paid enough in their jobs and that America's broken.
Now, stats that I would love to know is I would love to know the amount of money people that come out of college. You know how many people I know that got a college degree and bailed on it to become an entrepreneur, an investor, or figure out how to make the real money? Now, like, I want to be clear. I have a degree. I do not use that degree.
Chris, what's your degree in?
Marriage, family, and human development. That's family counseling. Useless.
Why did you get that degree?
Dude, I got that degree for a couple reasons. One is my wife got the exact same degree. I was already during college building my real estate business. I was working full time. And this is how I got class done easier and faster because we shared the classes.
You're saying Colleen did the homework
She didn't do my homework. We did it together. She was helping me. I was making sure my mother-in-law didn't get too pissed if I didn't get a degree.
Yeah, this was all about your mother-in-law, wasn't it?
Dude, 100%. She'll own it. You know, I'm talking about
you. Write her name on the degree. Thank you.
No, by the way, I want to be clear. I love that I got that education. I love that I got to learn how to learn. I do love that I learned research. I didn't do a whole lot of social and fun and play. I was retired by the time I graduated college. Like I was making different choices. I wish, however, I was the odd one though. When I was in college, all my buddies and peers were looking at me like, what is wrong with you? They're like, you have 12 homes? What the freak is wrong with you? You're getting a degree in psychology, family science, and you have 12 properties? Why? And it was confusing to them. They literally couldn't understand why a person would want more than one home.
Because they weren't looking at it as ROI.
No. And by the way, it's all ROI. ROI is how you become free. So by the way, I always calculate the ROI on my time. What is my time worth? And I calculate the ROI on my investments. So let me actually do the math for you. You want some fun math?
Yes.
Let's say that I buy a house with a partner, because I meet people all over the world that look at my real estate education. They say, Kris, you've done $1 billion worth of transactions, 5,000 homes, like you get this. And I just want to work with you because I want to be passive and I want to go right to the top. So they come and partner with me. I go to the best markets, I identify a project, we go and buy it, they put up the money. They're the financial partner and I'm the partner that does all of the work. So the 341 average number of hours that goes in just to buy the house, my team is doing that. Well, because I've built my team so well, and because I mastered this so many years ago, I'm the owner that has essentially, I'm the conductor that put it all together. But on that house, I'm probably not putting in more than 5 or 10, 15 minutes total before 5 years later, we sell it and parlay it into more property. Let's just say though that I bought one home with my partner and then we walked and we never did anything again. So we split the profits. Let's just say for a moment that we took $50,000 and let's just say we doubled it. Let's say we turned it into $100,000. Well, my investor is going to get their $50,000 back. That's what happens. They put in the money, the first money in is first money out. But there's $50,000 in profits. And because we're 50-50 partners, we're going to split that equally. So he or she's going to get $25,000. I'm going to get $25,000. Now let's take a moment and calculate the value of, first of all, let's calculate my ROI. I put no money in, but I got 25 grand back. So what's my ROI?
Infinite.
Well, mathematically, you can't calculate it. You tried it. Your calculator say,
it'll say error.
0, error. You can't do that.
Is 0 divided by anything that doesn't make sense.
Now I have a cute name for that. I call that an infinite ROI. Put nothing in, get something back. I like that a lot. But the only best way to really judge the ROI is my time. So I say, okay, well, I put 15 minutes in and I made $25,000. So
pretty good.
So if I do that 4 times, that's an hour of my life and I'm making $100,000. Do I, Kris Krohn, make $100,000 an hour per property?
Yeah.
Well, the reality is the number's higher than that. I'm being generous. But at least it helps you understand, oh, Kris is sometimes calculating ROI on my money is working for me, not me. It's working for me. I need to know how hard it's working. ROI tells you that number. And if we started doing an opportunity cost analysis of different investment opportunities according to ROI, we would become smart real fast and keen to the fact that society's financial opportunities suck. They're not good to invest in. But then the ROI on my time, it's like, I remember when my time was worth $500 an hour and then $1,000 an hour and then $5,000 an hour. And I remember one of my goals was I need to figure out how to make my time twice as valuable. So how do I go from averaging $5,000 an hour to $10,000 an hour? So then I figured that out. There are some projects I do. And by the way, let's go back to standards. If a project, let's say, pays me less than $5,000 an hour, it doesn't mean I say no to doing it. It means that I say yes to somebody else doing it. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
So I have standards on when I say yes and when I say no. When you are poor, you have to learn how to say yes. Most of us are bred to think no, 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 no. Hey, you should invest in real estate. No. Oh, you should invest in the stock market. No. You should start a business. No. No, 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 no. And no people make they make the worst ROIs. And these are people that are slaves to their job. 86% of the world hates what they do for a living, and their life sucks, at least from that point of view, right? Hopefully they can find some hope, but a lot of them are missing out on the happiness that life is enrichingly willing to offer and bestow upon us. I forgot where my thought was going after that, but.
Well, Kris, going back to the question that I asked you, is there such thing as getting rich with a little amount of effort?
Okay.
What it sounds like you're saying.
Now I'm ready to answer that question.
Right. What it sounds like you're saying is that if you set up the systems right,
yes,
there's effort in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
But once the system's set up.
Let me get to my 4th of 5 ROIs.
Okay.
We talked about intelligent single digit. We talked about meaningful financially free double digit. We talked about wealth acceleration with triple digit through the stock buying market. Companies.
Buying parts of companies.
Right. Because by the way, when you own your own company versus buying other companies, you're confused. I would rather have a small slice of watermelon than an entire grape. Yes. And you meet some people that just own businesses, their own business.
And they're really proud because they got a handful of grapes.
Yes, but they're limited by their own creation and by their own mind. And it is very limiting. It is very limiting. So I greedily call the show Have It All, which means that I'm going to have many slices of watermelon, which is equivalent to more than a handful of grapes. Yes. So now we move on to quadruple digit ROI. This is the first active investment because it requires some time. Okay. I believe everyone should own a business. And before I talk about what kind of business, let's just talk about why. whoever employs you right now, do you think that they are paying you so average wage in the country, let's call it 50 grand a year. Do you think they're paying you $50,000 because they want to make $50,000?
No.
No, that'd be stupid. If they you are an asset. By the way, in the world of accounting, I don't know if you know this, but employees are assets because you are investing. If I pay $50,000 a year to you, guess what I need?
4x
ROI. In the typical business, ROI is a 4x, which means if they pay you 50, they're earning 200. By the way, if you want to raise because you're only getting paid $50,000 a year, find out how to make the company more than $200,000 a year. Show the company that you can make them $500,000 a year, and then guess what? Then they'll give you a raise. So be more valuable. Anyway, that was a tangent. So the whole notion and idea here of owning your own business is listening very carefully to my words. I said own a business. I did not say run a business. Yep. Most people are like, oh no, Kris says that part of his blueprint, even if it's quadruple digit, let's do quadruple digit. I could double my money every 7 days. Let's just say 3 days, 1 day. You can do that when you're earning quadruple digit ROIs. But people immediately say, oh no, you're gonna have to trade your life. You're going to have to work twice as hard as when you had a job. It won't be worth it. You literally are the last one to get paid. You're going to have to. And all I'm hearing in that whining, BMW, bitch, moan, and whine, is that what you call that? You said that earlier. All I'm hearing is I don't have standards. Let me share with you my standards. First of all, if I've got a job and I'm like the 86% of the population that doesn't like it, I got to get out of that job. And so I need to find a hustle that I can do on the side. Well, let's reverse engineer the math. If I work 8 hours a day to get paid $50,000 a year, but I'm actually providing $200,000 of value, then maybe there's a way for me to work a fourth of the time, 2 hours, to make the same amount of money on my own. Ta-da! Guess what? You can have a job, work an extra 2 hours on the side, and your goal should, no matter what, be this. Listen carefully right now. However much money you make, you should ask yourself, how do I find a side hustle that requires only 2 hours of time that can equal my job pay?
See, and my little bells are going off in my head. I'm like, too good to be true. Is that out there?
First of all, I've got 50 different businesses that provide that for people. Like, that is insanely out there in great abundance. But by the way, you can only find something if you believe it's there. And that's called faith. That's a reverse engineer on, well, what is faith? It's to believe in things for which you don't have evidence.
Yeah.
My wife, literally, we're hiring a full-time person right now in my household, another one. I've got 2 private teachers that I employ. Well, we're losing our nanny gal that drives my kids to soccer, the baseball, taekwondo, and all of our kids stuff, right? So I'm like, to my wife, I say, honey, I love you, but my definition of you as a woman of incredible value in my life is not for you to be a part-time minivan mom. You're not a chauffeur. And that's what a lot of moms have to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But part of my drive to create more money than I need is so that I can value time. And I value my wife's time. I want to reclaim her 20 hours. So I basically got her someone to drive. But we had another conversation. I'm going to tangent for a second because we had a conversation that my wife, we've still not quite at the end of it. My wife is only tentatively agreeing because she feels like I'm attacking her identity right now because I said, hey, honey, I don't want to be rude, but you know how you don't really like to cook and make food? And I'm kind of a little bit of a health nut and I like fresh and greens and all this kind of stuff, but it requires a level of effort that you're not really willing. I'll make you a deal.
This must have been a walking on ice
a little bit. And I just said, Glenn, I love you to pieces. Let's do this. You need 20 hours a week for the person that drives the kids around and does a little bit of house here and there work. And I think it's going to take 20 hours a week to provide me with, outside of breakfast, 2 really amazing, nutritious meals a day. Like we have our local restaurant called Aubergine. For the person who's paleo or a vegan nut or whatever, they have tacked how you take beautiful, organic, ultra healthy, rich, dense, like nutrition rich food, and they make it taste delicious. And so literally I said, hey, let me just help you out with this job description. I want someone that can make 80% of the meals at Aubergine. Here's their website. And if you can make it taste delicious like that, you're hired. So I said, instead of a part-time chef that lives in and a part-time, driver, I said, let's just hire one 40-hour a week person. We're going to get someone who's going to be way more committed, because they're going to be full-time. They'll see more of a career path here. And, instead of paying this $12, $15, $18 an hour, let's pay generous. Let's get a lifer. Let's get someone that also personality-wise really jives with the family. Well, and what I'm doing here is my wife and I, we just got back from traveling week, doing some business trip, Florida Keys, Vegas. Before that, we were in Costa Rica. And I'm like, honey, I really love you, but I value your time as much as I value mine. I say no to doing most things. If it doesn't bring joy to me, I'm going to pay someone to do it. I said, I'd love to provide that for you. So she's coming around finally to this notion of, hey, okay, you're right. Like lifestyle wise, food wise, I'm like, okay, I'm 41 now and I want to live to be 130 years old. And to anyone that's thinking you're crazy, I get that the average 80 years old. Listen, I'm not going to be 80 for 40 more years. Guess what's happening when you actually track the futurism of like the dynamics in health improvement and how they've opened up the telomeres and CRISPR and the genetic decoding, et cetera, to like heal the thises and the cancer that's and remove the bad code for the, like we live in an amazing world. I'm going to live really long. So guess what? I go to the gym every day and I take care of my body. Right now I'm under 10% body fat. I feel strong. I feel great. I'm faster than I've ever been. I'm lighter on my toes, but that's paired up with eating really good, healthy food. So this, by the way, was selfish. I said, honey, I love you, but I want to fire you because you as the cook in our life tends to go towards the easier things to make, which sometimes don't always turn out to add in all the nutrition that I think we could pack in there. Long tangent to simply say that I'm trying to recover some of my wife's time for more of what she loves. And we're going to have someone step in and help with that. And it all comes back to this idea of, do you know what your time is worth? Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I'm telling people. In 2 hours on the side, you should be able to make as much money as you do 8 hours at a job. And you may say, I'm too good to be true, or I'm not sure if that's, I'm just telling you, just believe it. It's worth it. I brought up that whole story because my wife said, Kris, can we really find someone that is health, chef, nutritious minded, would be a great example to our children, do cooking classes for them in our private school we've set up / drive them around and help clean the house. Like, isn't that a tall order? I'm like, I promise you, there's a perfect person out there that would love to do that. And we would love for them to do that. And we're going to love them and they're going to love us. And it's going to be amazing. And I just said, you're just going to have to trust me. My wife's like that sometimes. She's just like, I'll trust you. We post the application. Guess what'll happen? We're going to find several amazing qualities. It's going to be hard to pick. That's what I think is going to happen. And that's true of life. And that's true of you thinking, you're telling me in 2 hours on the side, I can figure out how to make 8 hours worth of money at my job. You know what? Make room for the belief of it. And then make that your standard. And now when you weigh opportunities, be like, well, Kris, I looked at selling lemonade at a lemonade stand and guess what? I can only make 1/10 in 2 hours of the money. I say, great, now you have a standard. Say no to the lemonade stand. Hey, Kris, I figured I was checking out your company's 7-figure hustle where you figured out how I can broker local business deals for home improvements and I can make enough money to replace my job with just 1 or 2 hours a day. So good. Does it meet your standard? Yes, it does. Good. Congratulations. You believed it existed. You looked till it did. And then it was like Mel Fisher. You know the story of Mel Fisher? The dude in the 70s said, you know what? 250 years ago, the Spanish Armada came out here. It had a treasure trove of silver, gold, etc., and it went down in the Keys. The dude raised money to go treasure hunt. And he was out there for 14 years before he found the largest sunken treasure worth $500 million. Freaking treasure hunter. Most people would have given up after 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months. Even 4 years later, after his son perished in a horrible storm, he went back at it. 14 years later, $500 million. I know because I just stopped into his shop while I was in the Keys and checked out some of his like souvenirs and stuff. It was like really, really, really cool. A lot of it, most of it's sitting in a museum now, but the dude's rich.
Yeah.
So you have to sometimes make room for the belief that something exists. And I'm just telling you, you should now trade time for money if you're going to earn a quadruple digit ROI. Now it's worth it. Now that's my standard. Do I trade my time for double digit? No. Do I trade it for triple digit? No. Would I trade it for quadruple digit? Will you do it for 4 Scooby snacks? Right? Yes, I would.
Thanks, Shaggy.
Exactly. That's a hard one to do. But yeah, and that's the 4th of my 5 ROIs that I believe that people should be pursuing.
Kris, I love this. My fear is that people are going to listen to this and be like, oh, Kris, well, you can do these things. Where does someone who's working just a day job, making $40,000 a year at a job they hate, that's just a desk
or
job,
$100,000 a year?
Where do they start with developing these standards? Where do you first put your foot down and say, "Okay, I'm no longer doing this"?
Yeah, it's not about saying no. In the beginning, it's about saying yes.
Okay.
You see, I have chaos in my life because I've said yes to so many good opportunities. Like so much beautiful chaos. Like Carson, you're my CEO. How many opportunities do we have in consideration of development that could double our company?
So many right now.
So many right now, right?
If people could peek in on our meeting we just had, it's
oh my gosh, it's like someone says, "Hey Kris, you want to do this with me? You'll make a quick $5 million." I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
Wait, but isn't that get rich quick? It's not quick enough. That is beneath my standard. Because remember, all you have to do is this: know your dollar per hour. Someone that you work for has said you're worth $40 an hour. You should be always asking, this year I have a goal. How do I double the value of my time? How do I make 80? Then when you figure it out, it'll have been hard the first time you try to double that number. But then you do this. What's your resolution the next year? How do I go from 80 an hour to 160 an hour? Oh, that's going to be hard. I don't know if I can do it. You know what? You have to plant the seed and believe that it's out there. There will be fewer opportunities to make it happen because you have standards now. But when you find the one that can make 160 an hour versus 80, you'll do it. But I promise you, there's always a way to keep doubling. Right now, do I know how I'm going from 20,000 to 40,000 an hour, 100,000 to 200,000 an hour? Oh yeah. Am I doing it? Yes. Am I never not doing it? No. It's not about having more money. There's something about winning, achieving, being efficient. I love being in multiple places at once. Right now, today, so there will probably be 1 million to 3 million views of my content in the world by people. It is as if for just a moment, I hung out with millions of people and got to share some wisdom, knowledge, or advice. And sure, it's not going to be life-changing for maybe even half of them. But you know what? There's a lot of those people are going to say, wow, just like you listening on today's episode, I didn't know that before. I didn't think that way before. I wasn't processing. In fact, I would be surprised if you haven't at least, if you've made it this far in the episode, there's probably no less than a half a dozen golden nuggets that you've picked up by now that are saying, you know what? Wow, Kris is teaching me how to think different. And if you follow through and execute by actually acting different, that's what transformation means. And all of us are responsible for owning our own transformation in life. And how it starts is by hanging out with people. You asked how you start, Carson?
Yeah.
You hang out with people that have achieved what you want. And by the proximity of time with them, you pick it up. Like, be honest with me. When you started working for me, what was my first year pay to you? What did I offer you?
You're asking me honest?
I'm asking you honest here on this episode. What did I pay you your first year to be in a custodial closet editing videos for me 7, 8, whatever years ago?
$28,000.
$28,000. By the way, did you have a college degree?
Yes.
Did you graduate in the degree that I was hiring you for?
I actually did.
I know. And I paid you $28,000 and thank goodness you said yes. But let me ask you, as you watched my videos and helped me produce my content, did you follow the advice?
Yes.
What happened to your income?
Lots of really, really good things.
Did it double?
Yes.
Has it doubled again?
Yes.
Has it doubled again?
Yes.
So guess what? You're doing the exact same thing because you got proximity to me. And guess how my life is enriched by having you in my life? Like you don't give me leverage of 1-to-1. Like your leverage to me right now is worth, how many employees do we have? 50 people?
Yeah.
So guess what? You're worth 50 people in my world. Now, you're worth quite a bit more, my friend. But I want you to understand that we have to do math. Mm-hmm. And when I see Carson, part of what I see is not just a nice, handsome man, a good father, to his 3 daughters, or the world that we've traveled together, or the memories that we have. Yeah. I'm also thinking 50 people. That's a huge point of leverage for me. And it's mutual, it's symbiotic.
Right.
Yeah, we're both growing.
So Kris, you listed 5 ways, single digit, double digit, triple digit, and so forth. Again, going back to just imagine this individual working a day job, not getting paid very much. Where should they start on those?
Well, let me share the 5th.
Okay.
You see, at this point, let's talk about how you start, and let me share the 5th.
Okay.
How you start is by number 1, you learn how to save money. Mm-hmm. You should be saving 20% of what you make. You should cut expenses, cut your Netflix accounts. You should cut until you are at least saving 20% of what you make so you can invest. It's not cutting to be frugal. It's because if you're not investing, you're literally doing a 1-to-1 trade. If you're living check to check, like 90% of Americans, you're trading your time for money that is already spent, which means that 3 years from now, you're no better off. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you get a big raise, Parkinson's law says that you will spend the new money by increasing your lifestyle. So I know people that make 40 grand a year that are millionaires. I know people that make $400,000 a year that are check to check. So the change, it all starts with the discipline of being a great saver. Now I tell people save 20%. And by the way, if saving 20% is not $50,000 a year, then you need a side hustle that can help make you an extra 50 G's on the side. And someone's going to say, Kris, that is so unrealistic. I had someone say it, Kris, I make $30,000 a year. How do I save $50,000 when I only make $30,000 a year? Because if I'm saving 20%, which is really hard on 30 grand, I'm literally saving 6 grand. Where's the other 46,000 to get to 50? And that's where I say, do you see what I mean? It's like the first million is the hardest to make. Going from 1 to 5 million is a cakewalk. 5 million to 50 million, it only gets easier. So yeah, you're right. If you're saying, well, how do I start this rodeo? Become a really good saver and don't stash that money in the bank where it's easy access. Put it in a life insurance policy. Go to support@kriskrohn.com. I'll send you to my team that will set this up for you for free, by the way, no cost, no charge. And now your money will be earning at 6% on average versus nothing, 0.0 nothing percent from a bank. It's untouchable, unlitigatable. It grows tax-free. And while it is stockpiling, you're now taking step 2. I've got my life insurance bank account set up. Step 2, I'm looking for my real estate deal, or I'm looking for the stocks, or I'm looking for my side business. Now, if you don't have $50,000 you're being saved, cut to quadruple digit ROI and figure out how to spend 2 hours making the same amount of money as 8 hours at your day job.
A little bit of hustle.
Now you're going to accelerate more money going back into your life insurance bank account. And as that grows bigger, you're going to say, okay, what now, Kris, real estate or stock market? And the answer, yes. In other words, real estate can be, if it's a primary residence, it's 3% to get in a deal. Maybe that's 10 grand. Maybe it's an investment property, 20% to get in. It's $50,000 on an entry level single family below the median, home price property. Or it's, no, Kris, I got 10 grand there. I'm going to take that 10 grand and divide it by 15, and I'm going to invest. I'm going to get knowledgeable on 15 different sectors. I'm going to purchase for $50 here, $100 there, $200 here, some researched information on different industries. And I'm going to pick my 15 companies over 10 years that could be my 10,000% winner, knowing I will lose more often than I win. But in the end, I should end up really big in the up direction because of asymmetric risk that you taught me. Boom, I bought my real estate. I did that. I got my side hustle. Now you've got 4 of the 5 pieces there. The 5th and final one is, let me just do an analogy. Traditional stock market investing, 401ks, IRAs, the way that the financial societal system tells us to invest our money. Let's consider for a moment that is a horse and cart. It's a buggy driven by a horse, and you're trying to cross the country. It's going to take some time to get there if your cart is loaded up with stuff. Well, my single digit life insurance bank account is like an armored vehicle. It's safe, it's protected, and it's a lot better than a horse and buggy. Then I move on to double digit ROI real estate. That's a sports car. We going fast. Then I do my 500% ROI, my triple digit plays through the stock market. Now we're going NASCAR fast. We've upgraded to like Formula One. Then I get into my quadruple digit owning your own business. That's like hopping on a plane. It's a private jet. It's even faster. Well, number 5, and probably the fastest of all, if I were to tell you what it is, it's infinite ROI, and it's a rocket ship. It's certainly not
SpaceX.
It's SpaceX. It's very, very fast, right? This is the fastest option. And what it is it's infinite ROIs by OPM, other people's money. It's learning how to do positive arbitrage on other people's money. If those were newish words for you that sounded big, let me give you an example. There's a company that you have a chance to buy in. It's a $20,000 buy-in. The company is making $5 grand a month of positive cash flow. And you're thinking, if I can come up with 20 grand in 4 months, this company's been doing this for an 8-year track record. It will pay me $5,000 a month. If I can come up with 20 grand, I'll get $5 grand the first, the second, the third, and the fourth month. And then the investment will have paid for itself. And then the $5 grand afterwards, after that, replaced my job income. I quit my job. And when I quit my job, why am I doing that? To recover the 40 bloody hours a week that are being wasted at a day job. Right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Oh, Kris, I can't do it. I just don't have the $20,000, but if I save hard for 3 years, I'll get there. You want to waste 3 years of your life? Borrow the money. Now, I don't mean crazy interest rate borrow money. I mean, who do you know borrow money? Yes, it could be an institution, but it could be, a father-in-law. My father-in-law got me started by taking $3 grand and turning it into $1.6 million. That was my journey. OPM, other people's money. It's the fastest, highest ROI on the planet because you can't calculate the return, just the time investment. So in other words, let me give you a more dire scenario. Your child has just returned from the doctor's office and your wife, with tears in her eyes, breaks your heart as she tells you that your only child has cancer and will die in the next 12 months. However, there's an experimental procedure. No guarantee, but right now the prelims look really promising. This child of yours has a terminal illness and will die. But if you can come up with $1 million, you could save this child's life. You give him a shot. Let me ask you, I don't care if you suck at the game of money, if you're not an investor, if you're stuck in the rat race, would you be able to find $1 million to save your child's life? I think you would. Well, that adrenaline kicks in and you're going to find a way to lift that car off of that passenger. Like, I think you're going to show up.
And I also think the first thing you're going to do isn't enroll in college.
It's like, in 5 years, I'll have them agree my child will be 5 times dead. No, the reality is all of our lives are financially on the line. I've been living the most extraordinary financial life. Like I went to Costa Rica and spent $40,000. I said, what's the nicest resort in all of Costa Rica? And they said, well, there's this celebrity day spot. It's called The Springs. And it's at La Fortuna. It's the nicest view. They've got 40 natural hot springs right there on the property. I stayed in Kobe Bryant's villa that he had stayed in just years earlier. And literally, I would get out of my villa, which had private rooms, private pool, private everything, walk across the street, which was a single lane golf cart road that I would ride my private golf cart on, would take me to my own private restaurant where they would bring me anything that I wanted, only to hop in the springs at any time of day and have my own private springs experience. And can I just say, skinny dipping with your wife late at night when everyone's gone to bed made for a really amazing, fun memory. Well, it took $40,000 to create that memory, and then, and I could tell you about, and I'm not here to brag about money I've been able to spend on trips or, oh, Kris, that money could have gone to the poor. I'm making one point. How does someone, when the average person makes $40,000 a year, how did Kris Krohn just spend 40 grand? How do I make 40 grand a day? How do I make in a day what the average person makes in an entire year? Okay. That's because the wealthy understand these ROIs. And I bet if you meet anyone wealthy, ask them, interview them. Hey, Kris said something about life insurance, whole life used as like a bank account. He talked about double-digit returns ROIs through real estate. He talked about triple-digit through owning parts of companies. He talked about owning your own company. He also talked about borrowing money to make money as a good debt. Like, have you ever done any of those things to create your wealth? I'll make you a promise. They've used at least 2 of the 5, if not all of them. And that's because wealthy play by a different set of rules. Carson, those are my standards.
Those are pretty dang good standards. I have to be honest, this is not the direction I thought this conversation would go.
It never is.
I thought we'd talk MLMs and why they don't work and get rich quick schemes.
No, dude.
Selling timeshares.
I wanted to talk today about the fact that, listen, instead of learning from everything that doesn't work, let's spend our time talking about what does work. These are the 5 investments that can help anyone become a self-made millionaire. And if you use just the first and the second of the 5, you can become rich in a lifetime. If you leverage the third and the fourth, you can become rich in years. And you know what? When you do it, they will say that you got rich quick and people will be skeptical. And people that knew you when you were poor and saw you do this, they'll be skeptical, but you're going to make a whole new ring of friends. People don't get that when you learn how to play by these rules, you invite some amazing, influential, good people into your life. Literally, some of my rich buddies are some of the best people I've ever met on the planet they're so generous, they're so giving, they're so good. I think that we have often stereotyped rich people as being thankless and mean and rotten and dirty scoundrels. And you know what? You're going to find a counterfeit in everything in life. You're going to find good poor people and you're going to find bad poor people. You're going to find rich people are making good choices and poor choices. It exists everywhere. More importantly, you get what you focus on. If you've lived with this adage that if it's too good to be true, it must be, I'm going to invite you to put that on hold long enough to get a mentor, to walk you through more intelligent choices because they have standards and they have a track record. Like I spent the first decade learning how to lose really, really well. I feel like everything I'm touching is turning to gold. I give God the credit for that. I thank him that he put me on this planet to learn these lessons and have these mentors and to be able to abide my failings and have enough grace for me that I could stay in the game positive and long enough to cultivate a mind shift that would make it possible for me to learn the rules. And today's episode is teaching the rules of the rich. And these are what they are. And I hope they sincerely help you on your journey to living a superior financial life.
Kris, we've talked about a lot of opportunities today that people can jump into. Among them, life insurance. If they email support@kriskrohn.com, they can get in touch with that. Is there a link we can give? For the seven-figure hustle?
Yeah. Honestly, there's so many links because the reality is I teach people how to do side hustles. I show people where I invest and how I invest in the stock market, buying companies. I've got my passive real estate programs where I'll invest with people all over the world. There's a lot of ways to engage. I maybe just hit up support@kriskrohn.com and just inquire for what interests you. And they'll get you in touch with somebody that can get you some information. Or if you go to my YouTube channel, and click in the description of any video, you're going to see like 15 links. And those links will give you free books and free resources to learn about all of these different streams of income.
One thing that I love, Kris, is that, like you said in the beginning, not every rich person is eager to share their secrets. And you pretty much just lay it all out for us every time. And I really appreciate that. And I think our listeners and our viewers really appreciate that as well. Talked about lots of opportunities. That's great idea. Go to YouTube and you can see all the different opportunities that Kris is sharing.
Yeah. I think, Carson, it comes from being an underdog.
Yeah.
Right? Like I learned how to make millions in real estate and then I had to show other people how to do the same. Then I learned how to make millions in business and then I just wanted to show others how to do the same. And then I learned how to make millions of dollars as an influencer and I teach other influencers how to do the same. And I've got my foundation and it's just hardwired into me that if you can figure it out, reverse engineer it, make it simple, step by step. I love showing people how to copycat me, but faster.
Yeah.
Right? It took me a decade to figure this out. Now I can teach you in a year. It took me 5 years to do this. Let's help you do it in 3. That brings me joy. That is actually the bigger purpose of my life. And that's why, frankly, millions of views go out every day that if people never connect with me other than just getting the advice and hopefully being better off, that's the most important intention that I live by.
Anyone out there that's wanting to start doing some of these things, I love what you said. Start with faith, believe that it's possible. And it may take a little bit of hustle in the beginning, but if you set up the right systems and do the right activities, it can become very passive very quickly.
Yep, absolutely.